I'm talking with Michael, a writer who turned ideas into stories and stories into a career. Whether you're into fiction, journaling, poetry, or maybe just wondering how a book even gets written, we're diving into what really matters to be an author and how to get started. So, when did you first start taking writing seriously, and what were you writing back then?
I've been writing for most of my life. I mean, I started doing it in English classes in high school, then I continued in college to take classes. My mom thought I was an amazing writer, which obviously you can't take that very seriously, but I did. And I was like, well, then I'm going to keep writing. And so I submitted my very first published piece was a little thing I wrote about a sunset and submitted to the New Haven Register, which is a newspaper that I don't think exists anymore. I'm not sure if my story being published in that paper has anything to do with it not existing anymore or not. Those might not be related events, but that was my very first published piece. I was like 15 years old or something like that. And then I just kept writing. I was not thinking that writing was going to be a career by any means.
Did you go to school for writing, or did you take any classes that helped you grow?
I actually went to college thinking I was going to be a science teacher, a high school science teacher, but I did take English classes in college and I had a great professor my freshman year in college. It was a creative writing class and we had to write an essay responding to this thing that we'd read. And he ended up reading my essay to the class, which was terrifying for me sitting there. To this day, if anyone is reading anything that I've written, I don't want to be even in the room while it's happening. But he read it to the class and he called me in to have a meeting like a week or so later and said, "Hey, I think you could be actually do this." It was definitely a little kick in the pants to keep on writing. But even so, I ended up graduating not even with a degree in science, graduating with a degree in acting and theater arts. That class definitely had an impact on me, and I still think about that. Still think about that guy.
What does your writing process look like?
My writing process happens in moments of inspiration. Typically, I'll write something, I'll ruminate on it. Something will happen. Almost all of the things I write are based on something that happened to me during the day. And I'll think about it. I work in a theater in New York, and I do a lot of writing on my way home from the theater on the train. And it just happens when the inspiration strikes. And typically, for a lot of people, editing is a major part of the writing process. I remember, man, that I was talking about, that professor talked about the idea that writing is rewriting. There's the idea of the blank page being this scary thing, right? Just this blank white page. How do you even get started? The idea is that just start. And what you write on your first pass is not going to be what is left at the end. You're going to write it and then you're going to rewrite it. So writing is rewriting. It's taking the thing that you've written and then molding it, molding. For me, however, a lot of the time, what I first write ends up being pretty much what comes out. My book, Life at Hamilton, which is a collection of stories that I wrote about my time working at the theater where Hamilton is in New York, that is not very edited at all. Most of those stories are pretty much what I wrote on those train rides home.
What was it like to publish your first book, Life at Hamilton?
Publishing my first book was surreal. Kind of felt like a dream. And yeah, getting the book in my hand, seeing, my name on the book. I mean, it was crazy and wonderful. First of all, I think we need to acknowledge that my hair is great. Because if we don't acknowledge that, we're all going to be distracted by it. The book just got here, and it's surreal to be holding it. I never in a million years thought that I would have written a book. Yeah, this is a bizarre feeling to have this here.
What surprised you most about the publishing process?
Well, that I got published at all. That would be the number one surprise.
How do you stay motivated during long writing projects where the excitement might fade a little bit?
You always have your end goal in mind, right? I mean, again, it's difficult with writing depending on the type of writer that you are. And if you're one that relies on inspiration and is not very mechanical about the writing process, sometimes you just have to wait. For me personally, I don't want to force anything. So I just have to wait. And the things that motivate me are the things that I come across in the world. For me, it's really about just staying aware of what's going on, aware of the people that I'm talking to, being very present. Because for me, that's where all of the fodder is human beings and the interactions that I have with them.
Would you say that writer's block is the most challenging part of being an author?
So yeah, so writer's block it definitely can be a challenge. Nothing's coming, and it can get worse when you try to force it, and so that's definitely an issue. I think for me, the most challenging thing about being a writer is, I mean, it takes a lot of vulnerability, to write about the kinds of things that I do because it's just about my own life. So the real challenge is just being, I think, open and honest and having the courage to say, here's what I think. Here's what happened to me. Here's how I feel about it. I think for me, the biggest challenge, it's and we're all our own worst critic, of course. And writing is such a very personal kind of a thing. Same thing with acting. If you audition for a role or something, or if you write something and you submit it and it doesn't get published or no one wants it, that feels like something's being said about your soul, like your soul is not worthy of publication or whatever. Yeah, I guess I would say for me personally as a writer, the biggest challenge is just staying honest and being courageous enough to say, here I am, take it or leave it.
How did you get to the point of feeling comfortable enough to put your work out there?
It was harder to not do that. There comes a time in your life where you stop worrying so much about what other people think and you find that it's more important to just be your authentic self. And the world is huge. There's like 8.5 billion people in it. And some of those people are going to resonate with you and what you think about and write about. And some of them aren't. I mean, if we're talking about, making a living as a writer, you only need a tiny fraction of 8.5 billion people to like what you write in order to be successful. Now, that's not to say that that's easy. It's obviously a very challenging thing to do.
What advice would you give to a high school student who loves writing but isn't sure where to start?
Just just start. Just start writing about anything that means something to you. The writing adage is to just write what you know. Like I said earlier, there's no right or wrong, right? So the canvas is blank and it's yours and you can do whatever you want with it. Which what an amazing power that is, right? Like the thing about being a writer that is incredible is that you get to create a world, especially if you're a fiction writer. You get to be the god of a whole universe that you create, which is an incredible thing.
With what you know now, what would you tell your high school self about being an author?
Well, my high school self would be pretty shocked. I write about that in my first book that got published. I write about going back to my high school self and talking to that kid about how extraordinary things were gonna be. High school was not the easiest thing for me. I've always been sort of a sensitive person. I was a sensitive kid, did not understand a lot of the, the tough stuff that's out there in the world. Writing ends up becoming a vehicle for you to have an impact on people and in a way that I never expected in high school.
Finish the sentence. Being an author is.
Oh man, that's so much pressure, Victoria. Being an author is a way to live your life by being fully immersed in it and aware of it and sucking the marrow out of it, as a great writer once said, period.
That may be a run on sentence, but we will.
Yeah, there are some commas in there and maybe some semicolons, but there's a way to make it work.
Works. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mike, for taking the time to give us a real look into the life of a writer. If you've got stories in your head, ideas in your notebook, or just a love for language, this is your sign to keep going. Start where you are, write what you love, and who knows where it might lead.
A myth about being an author that I wish people would drop might be that they're not very strong, and obviously, that is not true. So, if there happens to be a myth that authors are not strong,
Look here.
I would like that to be dispelled immediately.